Okay, some of you guys have been wondering how I bead something like this. I mean, this is a really wide piece. My hands don't even cover most of what I'm doing. But I use a 2-needle technique to bead this. Like 95% of it. There's small instances where I use single needle, but this is how I use 2-needle. So I start by loading my beads up onto my needle and thread. So your first needle you put double knots or double thread your needle, put a knot in of it and run it through your piece, and then you load your beads on. Doesn't matter where you start, just your preference. With me, I'm kind of starting with the middle and work my way outwards because it's easier for my hands to grab and my hands to use. It doesn't add too much tension or stress to my hands where I'm going to get tired beading or get hand cramps. So kind of factor that into what you do, because your hand that you hold your beads and needle with and your project with does get tired, get cramps, because you're holding your thread. So I grab mine, 2 fingers, and run down with my pinky and run across. So it kind of holds it, makes that S pattern through it, and keeps tension on the thread. At the same time, my thumb, I'm pushing forward and using my 2 fingers to pinch my piece together and push my beads forward. But at the same time, you don't put too much pressure on your beads, because then you get your beads bunching. So I'm kind of having this laid out flat. You're just kind of just holding it there, not really having the beads bunch up or looking weird, because you want to have be at natural look like this, so your beads can be flat. So I push forward just enough to keep it taut. Then your second needle is actually your tack down needle. This is where you need some really good hand-eye coordination. And I tack down the first bead. This is also double threaded and not the end, and it does get pretty. Your needle does tend to, but your thread does tend to want to twist and everything. And be sure that your thread's the equal length when you're pulling it through, because sometimes it will leave it high and you got to be pulling one or the other thread. And I do the first bead, skip one bead, or then do every other bead, every 2 beads after that. If it makes sense. So you see, I got the first one, skip the first bead, next bead, then got to the third bead. And that's what you want to do, is just kind of go across and do every 2 beads after that. I kind of make this look easy because I've been doing this for a while. Like I said, pulling the thread equally does help. As you saw there real fast, I kind of missed them both. And I'm using double thread here because this will get a bunch of use and abuse. So I want to be sure that this piece is actually tacked down pretty good and well tight, or tightened down pretty good. So when I'm pulling through, I'm kind of pulling once, then twice, taking down the thread twice, from the front and the back as well. So it's a quick motion for me, but for you guys it may seem kind of like one singular movement, but I am pulling it twice when I go from the back to the front and then from the front to back. So I'm constantly tugging on it, even though it's not really seen as much. Oh, that one I kind of messed up. And you use your thumb too and your nail to kind of guide your thread in place and string in place. And this is where a lot of hand-eye coordination does come into play, because I'm missing my finger ever so slightly from the back and getting my needle placement exactly where I need it to come through in the front. So this is experience you're seeing right now. So when I get close to my stopping point, I kind of do every one, because if I was stopping, I would stop right here and took all these extra beads off and tacked down. But since I'm not doing that, I'm actually going to tack the corner piece, the corner bead down, and work my way around and go up and follow this, and probably stop right here, because that's too much of a bend for me to keep going until I go, start here again, come back around, stop, go up and curve, and then kind of come in through this section, or come out and come around. So as you do this, you run into several obstacles, and you kind of think on the fly and how you want your beads to run and lay, even the direction your beads flow. So here, I want my bead to come around the head and come out the neck and kind of meet in the middle. So that's how it meets. And here I want to kind of flow upwards. So it shows the movement up, and the beads and the, I guess, the back of the hump kind of flow backwards and all that. And show the stomach here, kind of the rib section, and the indication of the muscle and the leg movement. So this is all kind of me laying out the beads and having the beads flow in a certain direction, just like the wing portion of this hummingbird. I want to flow that way. I want to seem like the body here is being filled out. The head is one section, it being underneath. Darken the wing again, keeping it vertical. The line's similar instead of following the pattern of the outline. So it's kind of one of those things you gotta think about on your piece, if you want to animate it or not, or to look like your piece has movement. So there's noise in the background. Families watching movies while I do this. But yeah, just take your time, go slow while you're doing this step. It is a process, and don't pull your needle too tight just yet, because this does happen where it does. Your thread does twist around each other, and it does cause knots, in which you will cut and then have to re-knot. And it's not a fun process, especially when you get to your tack down needle being a little smaller. It does tend to do that a little more. So work in the direction of your hand. So if you bead in the direction, the circular direction, don't try to go the opposite way. It does make it difficult. If you're wondering, size 13 needle, size 12 needles. When size 12 needles, I'm using size 13 beads. That's what I use for all my projects. I do throw 15s in there as well if I need them. But I'm just show this little section and then come back again when I get through with the whole outline being done. So here I stop. I can actually pull the bead out and see where it stops and it's kind of flush with it. And all this can come off and be put into, so you have these little trays, which are Pringle lids. I just throw extra beads on top of it. I can use it for small filling areas or where I'm short. Just go through, pull it through. Like that. Make sure I keep my needle separate. Pull it tight. Make sure it's in there pretty good. I'm gonna tack down that last bead just to ensure that it's not gonna be bumpy or not gonna feel where it's gonna feel odd. So just let that, just a quick little run that way, and that's how I do my chain needle. So I'll show you this when the end of the day when I get done. Maybe I'll do the outline this and the outline this. Show you guys. I still gotta do the outline, start, as well as finish these bad boys. I'll be back.